Episode 3, Part 2, featuring your host, Dr. John Hammer, and our special guest, Lord Balor!
That's an interesting question. I almost want to say homelessness, because I think that we're constantly finding ways to distance ourselves from reality and the world itself. We're all over Zoom now. We're all talking on the phone. We all spend our time commuting by car, things like that. And they all affect our sort of basic experience of how we deal with the world. And I think that we'll never really find out an answer of what is this place until we stop actually cutting up our experience and depriving ourselves of sort of firsthand integration with what we live around.
Very good. And what happens when we die?
I think all the energy goes back to the earth, hopefully, if we do it right and don't fill the corpse full of chemicals and put it in some coffin.
Interesting. And next, so this is more rapid fire, so this is good. So this is another question. I got to provide context to this one, though. So, there's a lot of groupthink mentality going on, especially at universities. And my question is, can genocide or war ever be stopped?
Well, I think that's a question of whether we mean it logically or practically. Logically, yes, we all can choose to stop doing these horrible things.
Right.
But will we? No, we won't.
Right. That's very perfect duality. And so I don't know, this might be the hardest one for you. Favorite Masonna record?
So I was listening through a bunch of them yesterday in preparation for this, and so far, what I found my favorite was Ejaculation Generator, because I really like the sort of cut-up approach he takes on that album, where I'm looking at the track listing right now. I don't think there's anything longer than 2 minutes and 2 seconds for the longest track on the album.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So yeah, there we go. That'll be my vote.
Yeah, I think I will go with it's new, and I've put off digging into his discography for a while, but I would say Vestal Spacey Ritual. And what I like about that one is just how noise brings out my imagination. I'll just lay there and listen to it, right, and close my eyes. And or actually take that back. I like watching his live performances too online.
All right, we got a cult classic video from the original Dinosaur Jr. and one from Therapy. I'm Thurston Moore of Sonic Youth, your guest host tonight. Next up, I want to show you a Japanese noise artist named Masonna. Right now in Japan, especially in Osaka, as well as Tokyo and Kyoto and other places, there's a really bizarre underground scene that just totally deals with making extreme noise. It's very weird and very unique and something very, sometimes very comical, because it gets so insane sometimes. And one of the more popular bands from Japan is the Boredoms, who you might have heard of. They've been to the States a few times, and they're like a hybrid of every musical idea you can experience, possibly. And they introduced, especially through their lead singer, Yamatsuka Ai, this expression of pure, unadulterated noise. In Japan, it seems to be more related to a traditional cultural mannerism that is basically a fetish for making this noise. One of the more celebrated proponents of this scene is a fellow who records under the name Merzbow, and he seems to imply that a lot of these noise artists were into American rock bands in the 80s who would come to Japan to play, such as Sonic Youth and Pussy Galore and other bands, and they would be billed as noise rock from the USA. And the Japanese would just focus on whatever really noisy aspects that we had, and they would just boil it down to its purest core. Which leads me to this clip of Masonna, who is one of my favorite Japanese noise freaks. So here it is. Yeah! That was Masonna from Kyoto, Japan. All right, we're going to go back to some videos now.
Yeah, it's just this guy is the real deal. That's why I wanted to talk about him. And you know, like I said, I haven't been into his discography, but he's still a major influence of mine. I'm not a big fan of Caught Up by any stretch, but he does it the way he does it. I love it.
Well, if you can look at it too, it's just a curation thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they are cut-ups, but they're all part of this same sort of continuum of sound, and he's really just picking the best of the best.
Right.
From all of his recording sessions or live sessions and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's just like really extreme, fine-grained curation of his sound. I mean, if you really are like, okay, this 36 seconds is the best thing I can find, and I'm going to go with that because I'm so confident that this is what I want. I think that's a really good approach to have. And I think that's the opposite of what a lot of people are doing with noise right now. Like, I recorded 45 minutes of harsh noise wall. Let's put the whole thing up.
Yeah.
On Bandcamp or something. Not like, okay, I did 45 minutes, but you know what? There's only 36 seconds that really sound great. I mean, just think about that relationship with your own material.
No, that's right.
How aware you are of what you're doing.
Yeah, and since you said that, like, that can be off-putting for me sometimes. I'll put on some new music and then I won't want to, all this new stuff. But actually, in actuality, there's tons of great new stuff. But anyhow, yes, that's very true.
That album's interesting too because that's right in the era when he starts. It's pre-Space Machine, of course, but it's when he starts introducing more of the psychedelic elements, I think.
Yes, and that's why I love about Vessel's Space Ritual. That's the most psychedelic one, and geez, it can take you some places, and I wonder what it's like on psychedelics. It's got to be something else. I got to tell you.
I want to say too. I was looking at the album cover again. That there's a Dimension River by Hara, the Finnish psychedelic noise band.
Yeah.
And it's a very similar cover art, so I'm just imagining that he must be doing something. He must be directly responding to the Masonna album.
I'd probably say so, and like his use of delay and echo.
Yes.
That's where the psychedelia comes from. It's how I thought I was under the impression that he uses synthesizers, but seeing him live, it's all pedals.
Yeah, and his voice.
Yeah, and his voice, and the main instrument is his voice. Yeah, that's right. It's very, very talented and
very taxing. I mean, I knew he had injured himself at some point in the late 90s, sort of. And that's where the Space Machine came from, like we talked about last time. But realizing that most of this is coming from his voice. And I don't know if you've seen pictures of him. I mean, if you're watching live videos, he's a very, thin, slight person. And I can just only imagine how intense that is for him to do physically.
Oh, yeah. And then watching him live, it's just, it brings it all together. A lot of the psychedelic noises that I hear in his music, I also heard in a lot of martial arts movies I watched growing up, like Karate Warriors or Japanese Sonny Chiba movies. When they fight, they have the same kind of echoed just oscillations or noise, and it stops, and then it reverberates, and it just, that's what it reminds me of. And seeing him perform live, it's like he's fighting, and it's just
yes,
it's like watching a martial arts movie almost. Not because he's Asian or anything. It's just like I said, it has all those things to me personally with old martial arts movies. Maybe I'll post up in this video an example of the fight scenes where it's slow mo. It's like I love it. And glitch effect, that stutter distortion between his blasts of scream and noise. It's just perfectly executed all the time, and I can't say too many good things about that. But how about we move on to Space Machine? That's also a project by Masonna, and also brilliant.
Yes, I really liked those. I liked the long form opposite to Masonna. I like almost that he's very transparent about the gear that he's using too, and that you can really get a better understanding of how you can use your synthesizers and how you can connect them up to various. They're fairly simple setups. I mean, he has very nice synthesizers, but
yeah,
he's running it through just a synthesizer to an effects machine and out to an output. And it's very simple and it's very effective.
Yes, and I feel like he lets a lot of that gear do the talking for itself. A lot of it,
yes.
Vintage synthesizers that they have a lifespan too, and maybe you won't be able to hear that ever again. I don't know. Like, I'm thinking those things when I'm listening to it. I'm like, this sounds vintage.
Yes, it does. I mean, he's using, like I was talking about, some synthesizers that go for like $30,000 if you get a refurbished one now.
Wow.
With them. And he's using very high quality materials and instruments. And it's really amazing what he can get out of them.
It is, and that's why I was so excited to get the new Mackie Pro FX, to get a lot of those sounds, especially the echoes and the control of the start and stop of them. That really adds that whole, like I said, the glitch effect. My homage to Masonna, my own craft.
Yes.
And then also another thing I like about Space Machine is it's something you can it's relaxing. It's not like a channel. You can actually fall asleep listening to it, in my opinion.
Yes. And it's interesting too is that it changes across the albums. It's I've noticed that the live performances for some of it almost gets a little bit harsher when it's just a sustained synth tone for like minutes straight, no change. It's a very loud and sharp tone that he's just meditating on.
Wow.
And so I guess there's that sort of mixed way to take it where it's either, as you as the listener can meditate along with him, but if you're out of the groove with him with it, that it's going to be harsh and hard to listen to.
Yeah, I
mean, not harsh in Masonna's harsh, but harsh in terms of just physically this noise or this sound is sharp in your ears.
Right. And yes, and that can either it can either hit you or not. It depends on your mood, and especially for me. But and then again, though, I've seen some description of War Vellum tapes that are just pure war noise that have a Zen-like.
Iljarn is definitely an example of that, where like the self-titled album, I don't know if he ever does a riff change through the whole thing.
Yeah, it's very interesting. That kind of ties into that whole thing we were kind of talking about, that yin and yang. Like, if this could fit anywhere,
yes,
it could be a noise or something abrasive or disrupting that's still Zen-like, or like a gong, or I don't know, some of these minor sonic energy instruments. I feel like those are the original instruments of man, but they're also noise instruments. So
yes,
it all ties together.
Yes,
And I feel like we've covered Space Machine, and let's go on to my favorite project by him lately is Control Death.
Yes, I think that's my favorite of his as well. Overall.
Really? Okay. Do you have any particular favorite album or ones that you just like to mention?
Maybe it's cheating because it's kind of a box set, but the Death Synth box is one of my favorites. It's not as symphonic as some of the, I think, more recent material he's been doing has been.
Yeah.
It's very much down to basics, death industrial, with the MS-20, of course. So that's also why I'm partial to it.
So I don't have the discography in front of me. That what would that box set comprise of?
It was, I think it was just made just for this. It's a 5 CD set.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think it was one of the Urashima releases, so it obviously comes in a very beautiful wooden box. Very nice, everything. And I think it's just 5 discs. Each one has 2 tracks, about a half hour each, of just death industrial.
Yeah, that's...
And it's simple, and it's to the point, and it lasts 5 hours long.
Wow. Yeah, it goes to show you, like, the third project by the same person, and still so much stuff. It seems like hard to get through all of everything to collect all of his discography or whatever. It's taxing. But anyhow, yeah, it's that sounds. I need to check that one out. My favorite, I would have to say, I have 2. Symphony for the Black Murderer. Say it starts similar to Atrax Morgue with very deadly oscillations, which I love, but then it kind of also has this kind of LLN side to it, and black noise, and
yes,
and I love mixing those. I love mixing anything. It's great. There's too much, I think, of trying to keep things separated. Where just let's have one good project that mixes everything dark entirely, and I like how slightly detuned on one of the oscillators, and it's still psychedelic, but death, I think death will be psychedelic. It's a good representation of death, and I was wondering if you've heard that album.
I've heard some of it. If I understand correctly, that's the debut for Controlled Death.
Yeah.
I want to say it is. The first release of it was 2018.
Yeah, 2018, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked that one as well. It was. I think it's only by more recent. I mean, like really more recent, like last year or so, where he's going into more leaning more heavily into the LLN side.
Yes.
Of the sound.
Yes, especially on. I would have to mention this one too because it's different. Dirge for the Departed. Very, very dark, eerie organ music.
Yes.
And I love Grimm, so of course I love organ music. And it's also very heavy on the LLN. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but man, this sounds evil. I wonder if Paul Ledney has heard of any of this, because
Yes, because we found something that actually sounds evil.
yeah, and that's also, I was gonna do a whole war journal about death industrial, and just listening to death metal. Like, what is a better representation of death? For you, would it be death metal or would it be death industrial?
Definitely death industrial.
For me too. If I'm in a situation where I'm like dying or want to experience death, like that's what I'd put on. Not digging it. I love death metal, but
death metal has too much life in it.
It does, and I'm surprised people are still talking about bands like Cannibal Corpse. I know they tour and all that, but it's kind of bands that I'm glad they exist. I'm not hating on them at all. I love those bands, but they're just kind of on autopilot. It's nothing really new.
Yes.
It's just, they come to town, go check it out, listen to the new record, but what is there really to discuss there? But I feel like death industrial is still a lot to be explored in that genre. I don't know if I'm wrong there, if it should just be very stripped down and it should just follow what's already been done, or what?
No, I think there's always room for growth. I mean, we see that with Controlled Death, adding in the LLN elements and things like that. I mean, I'm always of the mindset that I don't need to collect everything for a certain sound. What I need in my collection are the things that epitomize a certain sound. So, for instance, I have one of the box sets that Urashima did with Atrax Morgue. And that, to me, is like when it's the death industrial sound. That's what I would go listen to. I'm not going to go listen to someone who's just doing a knockoff of the same sound. That's why I also like Brighter Death Now, for instance, is that it's in the ballpark of the same, even though that came before, obviously. Even though it's in the same ballpark as Atrax Morgue, it's still different. He's still approaching things with a different sort of mindset. And then again, with Controlled Death, he adds in some more symphonic elements. And that's what would lead me to want to add something to my collection and think that it's important and worthwhile to consider.
Yeah.
So if someone's just doing a redo of Atrax Morgue for the 10 billionth time, then why would I listen to you when I could be listening to the master do it for the first time?
Exactly. That is, I couldn't put it better myself, man. And I totally agree. And those are the bands that I'm most excited that are mixing things up, like that band Spider God. I don't know if you've field. They have like a cover record with like Pointer Sisters and things like that. It's just, not saying that's the answer, but I'm just saying, I totally know what you mean, and I feel like there's room for this genre to grow, and I want to contribute to that, but keeping it like dark, deathly grow, like a festering tumor or something. But and then I wanted to get into really quick, just why would this be my favorite? And I feel like just me reflecting a lot in my life on death. Death gives life meaning, and just it helps me break apart from this world. And you mentioned why would you listen to a knockoff when you could listen to the master? But it just seems like in this world I get disappointed by people. It seems like a lack of creativity.
Yes.
And then especially in mainstream society. And I would like to speak on it really quick. I shouldn't even talk about it, but Instagram is a good example. I try to have a feed. I don't know how your strategies for the algorithms, but some of the most uncreative, spiritually dead material I've ever seen in my life, of just text and someone eating a waffle and explaining why. And but then part of me is like, okay, why are you even in that space? And
Exactly.
well, I'm there to kind of promote my label, but yeah, I shouldn't be scrolling on there. I should upload it, and then that's the place for the people with very little creativity. But there are still some people on there with some creativity, but unfortunately,
Yes.
it's so many of the practical jokes and just stupid. I don't know. It's terrible, but I find myself going through it and be like, oh, these people have no. I'm being disappointed, but point being is that hopefully maybe there'd be a artist's version of Instagram one day where it's more of a smaller,
A little bit more curated.
Curated, yeah, it could be a great thing if it's all creative artists and things, but that's another reason. It's just like that I'm interested or influenced by death. It's just like it gives your life meaning. I don't have hours and hours just to sit here and scroll through things I don't like. I should just focus on what I like, what I want to do, get my artistic expression out while I'm still alive, and then move on to whatever's next.
Exactly, and I think that's a much healthier mindset. I mean, that's what I was kind of trying to talk about with the question, what is this place, earlier, and that, like, if we're just spending all of our time on the phone, then we're just cutting ourselves out of experience of the world at a basic level. We're turning inward onto a device, and we're turning inward into a device that gives us information that's all fake and superfluous and superficial, and it doesn't add anything of meaning to life. The only reason I have any accounts on any of those sites at all at this point are because it gives me a little bit of access into the few people who are doing things that are good, whether it's someone promoting shows or something like that. And
Yeah.
I think that's a positive way to use it as a point of connection for people that actually bring meaning to your life. But aside from that, it's not worth digging through.
No, yeah, and then maybe I could bring that back really quick to like, for instance, trying to when I was thinking of starting like more of a death metal band, just the people that I would meet on just like a Facebook or something, just the taste in the music wasn't. I want to be polite here. I'm not trying to be rude and insult anybody, but just kind of stuff that I just don't like, or just kind of what I call poser bands, right? And but there's people out there doing real original, authentic art that is an extension of the masters, and that's the most important thing. And I don't know. It's up to us. Maybe I can make a forum or something. I don't know. There's a special interest out there already, but who knows? It's just what do you think? Is it possible to have just a community like that for noise industrial black metal that hasn't already been done?
I think it's possible. I mean, every forum, once you get a stable user base, will be slightly different. Like, there's Scream and Riot now as well. That's sort of the main other noise forum, as far as I can tell, other than special interests. But there are very different user bases on each one. The Scream and Riot is a lot less interested in sort of the dirty finish sound than the special interest one is, for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
And
very good point.
it cultivates a different audience every time you create a new one.
Yeah,
and as long as you can get that stable user base, it's going to go somewhere that's hopefully interesting. As long as you have someone to moderate it and not to let it turn into just constant stream of ads. That's what the failure of all the Facebook noise groups is, for instance. That everybody's allowed to share their Bandcamp release-a-day projects.
Right.
And just spam the whole thing, and then there's no conversation, there's no one's listening to anything, there's just another ad.
Yes, and that's how I felt like Nuclear War Now was headed before it shut down, but maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know.
Unfortunately, I never got to participate on Nuclear War Now. Right as I was going to sign up for it is right when it got taken down.
Well, in my opinion, it seemed like the moderator, whenever they'd start talking about it, be like, nope, too, like off topic or something. It's just like, you just kind of want, oh yeah, ordered, sick, bro. Like, give it the horns, and that's all you're allowed to really do. But I don't know. I could be right. I could just that's my take on it. But anyhow, funeral stench. That was my favorite one, and it died. It's still up, or maybe it's not. I don't know. I checked months ago, but I don't know. It just there was a few users on there that were great, like Water Power Records.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know. Just some things just fizzle out.
Yeah, some things just have their lifespan, I think.
Which is
People
great.
go on to other things. But it was, yeah, if it's good for the time that it was good, then I think it was worthwhile.
Yeah, and that's how I felt like Nuclear War Now was, and to a certain degree, the Black Vault for me, you know, I was banned, unfortunately, but that's okay. You know, I was upsetting people there, but if it's a website dedicated to being hateful and grim, like, you know, like, come on, dude. Like, but anyhow, I get carried away with trolling sometimes, and that was a dark part of my life. I was drinking heavily too, so not a good combo. But anyhow, so I think that wraps up our kind of discussion of Maso Yamazaki. Anything else you would like to add in there, or anything else to this episode? 'Cause I think we've covered quite a bit, and I think it's been a good episode so far. Is there anything you'd like to share or dive into?
You know, I think we talked about everything we set out to do. I think we need to sort of reconvene and chart out another path if we're going to start again.
Yeah, and yeah, like I said, the last episode, I wanted to make a regular thing, but then again, you know, I was just, my situation, my health situation got a lot worse.
Yeah.
And just really in a lot of pain, and even too high to really carry on a conversation. And so I thought it was best to just chill. But then again, I felt like if that wouldn't have happened, maybe we could have kept going and became like one of these other shows that just skim the surface and they don't stop to go back and dig a little deeper, you know?
I think it's better to do it when the time is right and there's things to talk about. I mean, if you start doing it once a week even, it might be that little bit too much, little bit too close together that we don't really have anything new to say, and then we just lapse into superficialities.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what we don't want to have happen.
Yeah, I'm glad you see that. We're not trying to be YouTubers here. And I'm not even really concerned about the views like I was telling you. It's just, this is for the art.
Yes.
If there's people that like Marco Corbelli or all that stuff, they'll find this eventually. If not, that doesn't matter either. It's just for fun. And then I said I was going to start filming to have a video element. Maybe I'll talk about this on closing. But I didn't get around to that. I have a video synth coming.
Wow.
Yeah, it's called a Chroma Corruptor by Melted Electronics. And I'm looking forward to making more music videos and just adding a video element into these war zones. And also, like I said, the side label Hypnosis is coming out, more of a black metal dungeon synth, and having a sideshow Philosophum just about that too, because there's only so much death industrial you're going to want to talk about. I like so much different music. This is just the tip of the iceberg. So I just wanted to mention that. That's coming up, some of the new albums.
That looks really neat. I'm looking at it right now as I'm listening to you. The whole thing looks like it's really cool what it's capable of doing.
Yeah, there's some good ones on the market, and maybe I'll talk about that really quick, introduce it. So I like how it's adjusting the chroma. There was another one called Mainbow, and I just felt that was too bright. I'm trying to do more of a monochromatic thing and just black and white, and I think the Chromatic Corruptor. And then also they have for their advertisement is that they live in there, so I think that was a sign from God. Hey, this is the one to pick up. But Yeah, that's coming up. I have that. We'll film the next episode whenever that is. Hopefully, maybe closer to the show, maybe in a month or a month and a half or two, whatever. And then maybe have that black metal show. I don't know if that's something you want to be involved in, but we'll talk about that later behind the scenes. I know you have your project, your other ambient project, kind of inspired by Burzum.
Yeah, which has been kind of on pause recently, but it's still around. New recordings may be in the works once I get back to really doing rehearsal stuff. I really want to try to incorporate more slowed down guitar and things like that, and sort of pursue now, instead of Burzum, something more along the lines of Current 93, and see what I can do with that.
Well, yeah, that would be amazing to see a black metal version of Current 93. But yeah, that's what is on the horizon. And thank you again for joining me. Man, this has been such a wonderful afternoon, just talking music, talking the label and the future and the past. And thank you again, Lord Balor. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for having me and inviting me back.
You're welcome. And like I said, got those new releases coming up. We're going to be hitting the road, being live, and the side work continues. Good night to everybody, and God bless you all. Thank you.